Okay, folks, I wanted to make this video to explain, in part, why I haven't had any ISOM reviews of late. It is not because, as I said in the last video, hey, if I find that the rest of the issue is as strong as I've found here, then I may not make any more review videos and just basically give you one last review video that gives you my thoughts. That's not actually the case. I haven't read any further than page 29 so far, and the infamous ad that appears after that. And the reason being is I was asked by one of my subscribers on YouTube to critique his or her, I'm not actually sure which, script for a 64-page comic. Now, I've never done this before. I've never actually been given a script to critique. I have proofread some research papers before, but as far as an actual comic book script, this is actually my first time doing that. And let me tell you, it's number one, it's a lot more work than I thought it would be. If I ever get into the business of doing this on the regular, I'm definitely going to be charging a fee. But one of the things that I noticed while I was doing this script is that I could kind of see the writer falling into a pitfall of story versus script that I myself, if I were doing such a script, if I were writing a script, might be tempted to fall into. And it goes something like this. When you're a writer, you want to tell a story. And telling a story is a function of giving the reader information in bits and pieces until the reader's interest is piqued. And then the reader follows along because the reader wants to see what new information comes in later. So you don't want to reveal everything at once because, what kind of story is that? You want the reader to understand a piece at a time what is going on. Now, that's different from writing a script. Writing a story is different from writing a script. Why is that? Because the purpose of the script is not to tell a story. The purpose of the script is to tell your artist what in your head you want to see on the page. And those are two entirely different purposes. And one of the things that I felt like I saw was happening in this particular script I received was that the writer at times was telling things in such a way as to give the artist the same experience as somebody who is reading the story, which is, I get this piece of information now, and this makes so much more sense now that I have this piece of information. But that's exactly how you don't want to write your script, and here's why. Let me just give you an example, and this is not the example from the script in question, but I think it's an example that exemplifies what I'm talking about in an able way. Let's say you have a character called Mighty Girl, and Mighty Girl's job is, in this issue, is to infiltrate a base and find out what the supervillain's plan is. So Mighty Girl goes into the base, and then you don't see anything of Mighty Girl after that. What you do see, according to the script, is the supervillain explaining his evil plan to these two henchmen. And so when the supervillain is done explaining the evil plan in great detail, then all of a sudden, the mask comes off one of the henchmen, and it's Mighty Girl, and the supervillain has just explained the entire evil plan to Mighty Girl. Okay, now imagine you're an artist with a script that's written in that way, where you don't know that one of the henchmen up front is Mighty Girl. Now imagine you've just spent 2 or 3 pages drawing the supervillain, explaining the scene to the henchmen, and both of the henchmen are these beefy, 300-pound, 6'5" tall guys, whereas Mighty Girl is a 5'8", at most 180-pound woman, because she's muscled up. You don't want the artist having to come back at you and say, well, damn it, I've just drawn 3 pages with these 2 incredibly beefy guys, and now you're telling me that Mighty Girl was one of them all along? What the heck am I supposed to do with that? Now the artist has to go back and redraw the scene. You don't want that to happen. And before you object and say, hey, well, the artist could just as easily have read ahead in the script. Why hasn't the artist read the script in full so that knowing what happens on page 20, he or she can therefore appropriately draw what's on page 15 or 16? But you got to understand, especially in the era of campaign comics, which can run anywhere from 64 pages to 96 pages like ISOM to who knows what, 120 pages and be in various collected formats. You might have a comic of any size, and you can't expect the artist to remember ahead to what that cursory read of the 120 pages of script, which has got all of these directions on what to draw, etc., etc. Can't expect the artist to remember ahead and bring that back into prior pages of writing. It's far, far better for you as the writer to basically say, okay, I've got the next scene after Mighty Girl enters the building. Here's what's going to happen. She's going to attack and this is all going to happen off panel, but she's going to attack one of the guys, one of the supervillain's henchmen, steal the costume, and then she's going to be wearing the henchman costume while the supervillain explains the evil plan. And the reader's not going to know, but you need to make sure that you draw one of those henchmen appropriately so that when Mighty Girl reveals herself, then it doesn't look too off-putting, or it doesn't seem like, what, that was Mighty Girl all along? Well, that henchman looked nothing like Mighty Girl or something. You have to tell the artist that, because the artist's job is to take everything that's in your head and try and put it on the page as best as he or she can. And if you're holding back information, that's not going to happen. So that's basically what I wanted to get across, is that when you are writing a script, make sure you are writing it as a script. And a script is not the same thing as a story. The story is what you want the artist to convey to the reader and your dialogue to convey to the reader when the product is finished. But the script is for the sake of the artist, and the artist has to take that script and say, okay, what is here? How do I draw this? How do I make sure that what I draw conveys the story that is embedded in this script but is not the script itself? The script is a tool for the artist to get your ideas down onto the page in art, and also to leave room for the words, and also to understand, coloring, and there's all sorts of things that the artist is trying to factor in as these things are going along. So make sure that your script contains all of the information that your artist will need in order to accurately convey what your story is, or else you're going to wind up with rework that you could have avoided. And yes, I know it's tragic that the artist, consequently, is not going to be able to enjoy your story the way that you would like a reader to enjoy your story. But you know what? That's the job. That's the price that the artist pays for working on your book. He or she can't just read the story and enjoy it the way that some normal reader could. That artist is going to get some inside information from you, but that's okay. That's part of what the artist is compensated for. So don't hold back in your script about communicating all the necessary information that the artist is going to need to get your ideas onto the page. Because once your ideas are on the page, then you've finally got a story that you're capable of presenting to the reader, and hopefully it's something that the artist will be able to come back to later and understand, now I see how this all comes together. Now I see how, everything flowed and everything fit, and how this was a great revelation, etc., etc. I'm Mike Partika. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, so that when I do resume the ISOM reviews, then you'll be first to pick it up. And I will talk to you later.